Has she still not noticed?
Not at all. She hasn't realized a thing. She even went to her shift today.
Seriously, she's so clueless.
When I got home early from work because I wasn't feeling well, I found my husband, Steve, and my best friend, Rachel, in the middle of it on my bed. They didn't notice me. So, I filmed them and sent the video to Rachel's husband, Mike. Mike and I were classmates back in college. The two of us came up with a plan.
If we're gonna do this, let's mess with them a little.
Following Mike's suggestion, we played a smart prank on them. Watching Steve and Rachel panic was absolutely hilarious. When I finally hit them with divorce papers, the real reason Rachel had gotten close to Steve came out. It was so ridiculous that I immediately lost all interest in the whole thing. My name is Julie North, and I'm 28 years old. I've been married for 2 years. My husband's name is Steve North, and we're the same age. We met in college through a travel club. It was a club where, whenever we had time, everyone would go on trips together. But we were just college students. Basically, we were broke. So naturally, we'd take super cheap trips, always traveling by rental cars. I often ended up in the same car as Steve. Later, I found out that this was all arranged. Apparently, among the guys, it was well known that Steve liked me. I had no idea for the entire 4 years. Wow, we always end up in the same car, huh?
Yeah, we do.
Sorry, I can't take over driving since I'm terrible at it.
No problem. I actually enjoy driving.
I like Steve's kindness. But at the time, I couldn't tell if what I felt was love or just friendship. In the end, we didn't date at all during those 4 years of college. After graduation, about a year into our jobs, the club members were having a reunion. That's where I met Steve again, and we found out our offices were close to each other, so we started hanging out. After our third dinner together, he confessed.
Actually, I've liked you ever since freshman year.
I remember feeling so happy when I heard those words. It was then that I finally realized I liked Steve too. And that's how we started dating. I immediately told my best friend, Rachel, that Steve and I had become a couple. Rachel was in the same club, so she knew Steve too. Rachel was like the campus celebrity and always had a boyfriend on campus. But she never dated anyone from the club.
I don't want things to get awkward after a breakup and not be able to participate in the club anymore.
She used to say that. It made sense, especially in a travel club, where having an ex around wouldn't be ideal. Isn't it awkward to have so many exes on campus?
Nah, I can just ignore them, but the club is different, you know?
I appreciated that Rachel prioritized our club activities together. We became friends when we sat next to each other during college orientation. She was beautiful and friendly, someone I really admired. Even after we started working, we kept in touch and met up regularly.
Wait, Steve, no way.
Rachel was surprised but happy for me. He said he's liked me since freshman year. When I told her that, Rachel replied with a surprised expression.
Wait, since freshman year? I don't really think so.
I thought she'd be more excited, so her reaction threw me off.
So, are you serious about dating him? Are you okay with that, Julie?
What? Of course. I like him too. He's kind.
Boom.
What is this uneasy feeling? Rachel had just announced her engagement, so I convinced myself she might be feeling a bit of pre-wedding blues and ended the call. Rachel was set to marry a classmate she'd started dating during our senior year. He was the guy she'd been saying she liked for a long time.
I don't want to work, so I want to get married quickly and become a stay-at-home wife.
She used to say that. I thought she was half joking, but it seemed she was serious. As soon as Rachel got engaged, she quit her job for Rael. A little later, Rachel made a suggestion.
Why don't we invite Steve and my husband to a dinner party? After all, we all went to the same college.
Rachel's husband's name was Mike Sanders. Mike and I were friends because we were in the same seminar. Steve and Mike had never met. That sounds fun. I'll ask Steve. The dinner party was arranged quickly. Rachel took the lead, something she usually didn't do, and seemed to be having a lot of fun. I felt relieved, thinking she'd gotten over her pre-wedding blues. But at that dinner party, cracks began to form in my relationship with Rachel. At first, Steve and I surprised Rachel and Mike by throwing them a little wedding celebration. I wanted to celebrate them even more, but Rachel quickly moved on from their own event.
Thanks, but I really want to know more about you two.
I started feeling uneasy, wondering if she wasn't happy about the wedding surprise. She didn't even look at the gift we gave them and just set it down on the floor, asking us all sorts of questions about our dates and what Steve liked about me. She even asked some awkward questions, to the point where Mike had to step in. Rachel, are you drunk?
I'm not drunk. Oh, by the way, Steve, do you know Julie's little secret?
I started to feel nervous about what Rachel might say.
Julie wasn't popular at all in college. She was basically sucking up to one of our professors in his 50s.
Wait, what? For real?
Totally. Isn't that crazy? That's the only attention she got.
I wasn't sucking up to anyone.
Come on, you were sitting on his lap.
What? What are you talking about?
Steve gave me a look of disdain, and my heart sank. No, that's not it. I tripped and accidentally fell onto his lap. Everyone was laughing about it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You're such a klutz.
Thanks to Mike, the conversation turned into something we could laugh about. But Rachel kept bringing up a girl I didn't get along with, exaggerating things.
Remember that girl you used to complain about every day?
What? Wasn't that you, Rachel?
Stop it! Don't pin your gossip on me.
The atmosphere kept getting worse. Steve looked at me with a sad expression. It wasn't like that. I couldn't understand why Rachel was saying things that made me look bad. We parted ways with an awkward tension still hanging in the air. On the way home, I desperately tried to explain myself to Steve.
You don't have to be so desperate. Everyone talks behind people's backs sometimes.
Steve laughed as he said this, but I had mixed feelings. But Rachel was the one who said most of it.
Come on, don't bring that up now. It's not fair to say something behind her.
I couldn't say anything in response. I could feel myself losing ground. A little while later, Rachel and Mike's wedding took place. Steve and I were both invited to the wedding reception. Rachel looked beautiful at her wedding, but I couldn't bring myself to smile. 6 months after Rachel's wedding, Steve proposed to me. By then, I had completely forgotten what Rachel had said. I was on cloud 9. I sent Rachel a wedding invitation, even though we hadn't been in touch much since her wedding. I was a little nervous, but Rachel was happy for me.
Congratulations. I'm really looking forward to your wedding.
I thought maybe Rachel had forgotten everything, and I told myself I should forget it too. On the day of the wedding, I waited for Rachel to arrive, but she didn't show up. Some friends mentioned they had seen her earlier, but she never came to the bridal suite. Since it wasn't guaranteed all friends would come, I didn't worry too much. But Steve wasn't there either. The staff went to find him but said they couldn't locate him. As the wedding reception time approached, I walked to the venue alone. And there, I found Steve already waiting. To be surprised, standing next to Steve, was Rachel. My heart fluttered with unease. Why were they together? Maybe it was just because they were friends, but they seemed way too close. I put on the best smile I could muster and called out to them. Steve, you're already ready. Rachel, I was waiting for you in the bridal suite, hoping you'd stop by. Steve looked at me nervously, like he couldn't sit still.
Wow, Julie, you look gorgeous, right, Steve?
Wait. Until now, Rachel hasn't been that friendly with Steve. When had they gotten this close?
Sorry, Steve and I just got caught up talking, and I totally forgot to come see you.
Rachel laughed without a hint of guilt. It was right before my wedding, but I'm sure my face had already stiffened. After the wedding reception, Steve and I got into a fight right away. I don't want you hanging out with Rachel anymore.
What? Why? Rachel's your best friend, right?
Even Steve had become that friendly with Rachel. Why are you being so friendly with her? Steve let out a big sigh.
She's a friend. What's the big deal?
Rachel's the type of woman who knows how to get guys' attention. She's really good at showing herself off.
Stop bad-mouthing your best friend. You're really showing your true colors now. I don't even know how Rachel stayed friends with you.
I was shocked. I could easily imagine Rachel feeding Steve all sorts of things behind my back. I was so angry. I ended up saying something I shouldn't have. So, you regret marrying me, don't you?
Maybe I do.
I wanted him to deny it. I wanted him to tell me it wasn't true. It was right after our wedding. I knew this would weigh on me for a long time. Our marriage had gotten off to a rocky start. I didn't want to keep fighting with Steve, so I stopped digging into the issue and just carried on with that uneasy feeling in my chest. After we got married, I quit my job and started working part-time at the same company I'd worked for before. I was assigned to a store, mainly working customer service. Since I had been a full-time employee before, they gave me a lot of responsibilities, and I stayed busy. But no matter how busy I was, I always made sure to get home before Steve and handle all the housework by myself. With my hectic schedule, I eventually forgot all about Rachel. It might be more accurate to say I was keeping myself busy to avoid thinking about it. I was trying to convince myself that my marriage was going well. Then one day, it all caught up to me. I pushed myself too hard, balancing both housework and my job, and ended up getting sick. But my workplace was short-staffed, so I couldn't take time off. I forced myself to go to work, and in exchange, I cut corners on the housework. But all I did was buy prepared meals and let the laundry pile up a little. Still, Steve didn't tolerate it.
Hey, why didn't you wash this? I need it for tomorrow.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you needed it.
Can you at least handle the housework properly? And I don't want to come home after working all day to a half-assed dinner like that.
With that, Steve stormed out. I had already told him I wasn't feeling well. But instead of worrying about me, Steve demanded perfection in the housework. Where had the kind Steve gone? I never imagined marriage would be this painful. I went to work despite feeling terrible. My manager, seeing how pale and shaky I was, finally told me to go home and rest. The store wasn't too busy that day, so I think he was trying to reassure me that it was okay to leave. Even though I expected the store would get busier later, I knew if I kept going, I'd collapse and cause even more trouble. So I took him up on his offer. I went straight to the doctor, got some medicine, and felt so awful that I stopped at a cafe for a quick snack and to take the medication. Then, I headed home. As I approached the house, I noticed the bedroom curtains were closed. I was sure I had left them open that morning, so it seemed strange. Could it be a burglar? I was scared and thought about calling the police, but since I wasn't feeling well, I convinced myself that I had just forgotten to open the curtains. Just to be safe, I quietly entered the house. That's when I heard a woman's voice. Wait, I know that voice. I peeked through the slightly open bedroom door and saw Rachel straddling Steve. They were in the middle of it. My mind went blank. Why were Steve and Rachel together? How long had this been going on? As I sat there in shock, I overheard their conversation.
Has she not figured it out yet?
Nope, not a clue. She even went to her shift today.
She's really clueless.
Oh man, she has no idea we've been together all this time and still married him. She's really living in a fantasy world.
From their conversation, I realized they'd been involved since before the wedding. But why? Why did he marry me if that's how it was?
If I'd started dating you sooner, we could have gotten married instead.
I know, right?
Aren't you gonna leave your husband?
No way. I find affairs way more exciting.
Their conversation made me feel sick. I was overwhelmed with anger and frustration. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I decided to secretly film them in the act. Neither Steve nor Rachel noticed me at all. They were too wrapped up in each other. I recorded them for a whole hour. Their conversation kept drifting back to mocking me and Mike.
Mike has no idea his wife's at another guy's house in the middle of the day.
He's totally clueless, just working away.
I felt so nauseous. I had to step outside. Mike was my friend. And hearing them talk about him like that made me even angrier. I sent Mike part of the video. Even though I still had a fever and felt shaky, either the medicine started working or the adrenaline from my anger kicked in because my head started to clear. I was thinking about what to do next, debating whether I should burst in on them. Then, my phone rang. It was Mike.
So, they've been cheating after all.
Wait, you knew? Mike and I agreed to meet up. Is your job okay?
Yeah, I'm leaving early. I'm not gonna miss this opportunity.
Mike told me to meet him at a certain bar. One where Rachel and Steve often met up. You've really been looking into this, haven't you?
Yeah, they always come here.
Apparently, Mike had been investigating them for a while. and he had everything. Photos of them enjoying their little affair and all.
Before we confront them, let's mess with them a bit.
What? How?
Just watch.
Not long after, they really showed up. I was nervous about being spotted, but the seat Mike had picked gave us a perfect view without them seeing us.
This table is perfect for keeping an eye on them.
Mike was full of confidence. It almost seemed like he was enjoying himself. I was pretty shaken, so I found Mike's composure really reassuring. Once Mike saw that Steve and Rachel were seated, he called Rachel.
Hey, Rachel, where are you right now?
Right now? I'm just at the grocery store near the house.
Perfect. I'll be home soon, so I'll pick you up.
What? No, it's fine. You don't need to come.
No, really. I'll join you for shopping for a change.
Rachel's voice immediately became panicked.
What should I do? Mike's coming home.
What? Seriously?
I couldn't help but laugh. Mike had a mischievous smile on his face, too. I'd never seen this side of him before. Back in school, Mike was the most popular guy with the girls. When we heard he was dating Rachel, the girls in our class were heartbroken.
You should give it a try too, Julie.
Following Mike's lead, I called Steve. Steve, where are you right now?
Where else would I be? I'm at work.
It sounds pretty noisy there.
Yeah. We're having a meeting.
A meeting was a pretty lame excuse. Even Steve probably realized he'd messed up. I could see his expression clearly from where I was sitting. Okay. Well, I'm right outside your office. Let's go home together.
What? No, I'm working late today, so just head home.
Oh, really? But I see one of your coworkers. I'll go say hi.
Wait. Hold on.
I hung up after that. Watching them from our hidden spot, we saw them scrambling. We enjoyed watching the panic unfold. As they rushed out, we stepped right in front of them, stopping them in their tracks. Both Steve and Rachel froze when they saw us, speechless. Wait, weren't you supposed to be at work?
Did you teleport here from the grocery store?
Did you lie to us?
You're unbelievable.
Completely ignoring their own actions, Rachel and Steve started accusing us of tricking them. Who's the real scumbag here, huh? You're the one cheating.
Cheating? What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean.
I'm telling you, we know everything. Mike nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Rachel's face turned red, and she started screaming at me.
Isn't Mike supposed to be at work right now? Julie, you tricked my husband.
If anything, it was my idea to come here.
Mike, are you seriously defending Julie?
Rachel couldn't handle the fact that Mike and I were on the same page, and she was trembling with rage. Don't change the subject. You're the one who stole my husband.
That's right. We know you've been cheating. That's what we're talking about.
No, it's not like that. Steve and I aren't in that kind of relationship. I was just asking him for advice.
Rachel hurriedly tried to explain herself. I was taken aback by her cunningness, realizing that she acts differently in front of Mike, trying to hide her friendly attitude towards Steve compared to when she's with me or Steve. Oh, really? You were way too friendly with Steve in front of me earlier. Why the sudden change in tone? I let them know that their affair was already obvious to us. but they kept insisting they were just friends. So, I showed them the video I had recorded.
What's this? When did you film this?
What? You think it's a security camera?
It's shaky, so clearly I filmed it myself. They hadn't realized the video was from today, which made it clear that Rachel had been coming over to my house repeatedly. The thought of them being together in my bed every day made me feel sick. I'm going to divorce Steve.
And I'm divorcing Rachel. Whatever you two do after that is up to you.
The two of them reacted in opposite ways. Steve was thrilled, but Rachel broke down in tears.
Rachel, we did it. Now we can get married.
What are you talking about? I don't want to leave Mike.
What?
Steve looked completely confused by what Rachel was saying.
Hey, what are you talking about? You told me you wanted to marry me. You said Mike wouldn't divorce you.
Shut up. Stop talking.
Rachel turned to Mike, begging for forgiveness.
Mike, I am so sorry. You're the only one I love.
When did I ever say I didn't want to leave you?
That's just Steve making things up. He's living in some fantasy. Honestly, he scares me.
Hey, what are you saying? Don't make up lies.
Rachel started spewing obvious lies to protect herself, leaving me wondering who was really living in a fantasy world.
It sure looks like you're enjoying yourself in this video.
No, this video is different. Steve forced me into it.
What? You're the one who said you wanted to do it in Julie's bed because it made things more exciting.
Suddenly, it all clicked. Rachel didn't care about Steve. She just wanted to beat me. And she was confident she could. A memory came back to me. There was a couple in our college class who were obviously in love and happy together. But a month later, the guy began to date Rachel. The girl was devastated, crying her eyes out. When I asked Rachel if she had stolen him, she said,
He came to me on his own. He asked if I could date him for just a week, so I did, but we already broke up.
At the time, I thought the guy was the problem, but now I realize this kind of thing happened all the time. Now that it's happening to me, I finally see it. Rachel can't stand to see other people happy. You never really liked Steve, did you, Rachel?
Of course not. The only one I've ever loved is Mike.
Wait, what? You're the one who came onto me.
It was clear now that Rachel had made the first move. According to Steve, the day after the four of us had that dinner, Rachel contacted him, saying she needed advice. She pretended to be worried about me, but everything she said was full of lies, meant to make me look bad.
Julie's actually really into guys, to the point where they easily get the wrong idea. I'm always scared she's going to get in trouble someday.
What? I've never noticed that about her.
Well, she acts differently around men. She's really good at pretending.
I had no idea.
I was disgusted that Steve believed Rachel so easily. Steve, weren't you in love with me for years? But you believed Rachel's words just like that. I'm disappointed in you.
I didn't believe her at first, but Rachel kept coming to see me.
You're the one who wanted to see me.
That was much later.
Realizing we weren't getting anywhere, we agreed to meet later to talk things over. But I couldn't stand the thought of being near Steve any longer, so I decided to go back to my parents' house. Still, Steve asked to talk things over properly. What? You expect me to sleep in the bed where you slept with her? At that, Steve turned pale. It seemed like he finally understood the gravity of what he had done.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I'd done something so unforgivable.
By the way, that video I showed you, I recorded it today.
What?
Steve broke down crying right there on the sidewalk. Watching him fall apart so pathetically, I realized all my feelings for him had completely disappeared. Anyway, I'm not going back to that house. I'm divorcing you.
No. Please, wait. Think about it.
You've been betraying me since before we got married. Do you really think we can fix this? Besides, you seemed pretty happy when you thought we were getting divorced earlier.
That was because Rachel tricked me. It's different now. I realize how important you are, Julie.
I hated how easily Steve could switch gears like that.
It was just a game. I wasn't serious.
That line pushed me over the edge. A game? Are you kidding me? I've been dragged into your little game for over 2 years. Give me my time back. I might have been shouting too loudly for a public place. People were gathering around, watching. Steve, shamelessly crying, begged for forgiveness, but I ignored him. I left, walking away from the crowd. A few days later, both Mike and I hired lawyers to begin divorce proceedings. Neither of us had any intention of reconciling. We had plenty of evidence to file for damages, and we planned to pursue it. Rachel's eyes were red and swollen, clearly from crying. I knew she really did love Mike. She had been so excited when they started dating, always telling me how happy she was. That's probably why she was so desperate not to get divorced. And I'm sure her pride couldn't handle the idea of being a divorcee.
I still love Mike more than anyone. That's why I don't want to end it.
If she felt that strongly, she shouldn't have cheated. It was just pathetic. The fact that she couldn't stand other people being happy, to the point of going after her best friend's husband, was insane. She was about to lose her beloved husband because of a shallow desire to prove herself. There was no sympathy from me.
You just wanted to beat Julie, didn't you? Hate to break it to you, but you've been losing to her from the start.
Rachel bit her lip, her face twisted in frustration.
Back in college, Julie was the one the guys were into, not you.
I was shocked to hear that. I had never known.
You thought standing next to Julie would make you more popular, didn't you? What a delusional idiot.
I'd gone to an all-girls school up until college, so I never thought of myself as someone who was popular with guys. Now that I think about it, it was Rachel who had always made me believe I wasn't attractive. All the talk about her being the beautiful, popular one came from her, too. Looking at her closely now, she wasn't even that beautiful. It was like I'd been seeing her through some kind of filter. Rachel caught me staring.
Don't look at me like I'm some pathetic loser.
But you are pathetic, aren't you?
What did you just say?
Rachel lunged at me, but Mike immediately stepped between us. Steve also moved in a bit too late, trying to protect me.
What is this? You're both falling for her lies.
You're the one who's been lying to everyone.
I'm the princess here.
Rachel screamed, leaving us all dumbfounded. That must have been her true feelings. Rachel acted like she was the center of everything, like the world revolved around her.
It's ridiculous that Julie's the one being protected by these guys.
She kept crying and screaming. Seeing the situation, the lawyer suggested Rachel seek psychiatric help.
I'm not crazy.
It's not like that. It's just important to take some time to reflect on what you've been doing. Of course, Rachel wasn't going to listen to me, so we left the matter of her getting treatment to her parents. From that point on, all further discussions would go through the lawyers, and the four of us ended up getting divorced. After the divorce, life was peaceful for a while. I took some time to enjoy being single. I still met up with Mike occasionally. That was a rough time, huh?
Yeah, but I finally feel free.
We could laugh about it now. One day, after seeing Mike, I was walking home alone when a much thinner Steve appeared in front of me. What are you doing here?
I realize now how important you are to me, Julie. I want to start over.
Sorry, but that's not going to happen.
Why not? I swear I'll make you happy again.
How do you expect to make me happy when you were cheating on me before we even got married?
I know I messed up, and I'm sorry.
That day, I stood there filming the two of you for a whole hour. Steve went silent, unable to respond. So no, it's over. Every time I see you, that's all I think about. Don't show up in front of me again. Seeing Steve made me angry. All I wanted was for him to finish paying the remaining alimony and cut ties for good. But there was another reason for that. I'm dating someone new, and we're serious.
What? No way.
I had started dating my store manager. After the divorce, he had been the one who supported me the most. The night I discovered Steve and Rachel cheating, I collapsed at my parents' house. I was taken to the hospital by ambulance and ended up needing an IV. It was just a bad cold that had worsened, nothing serious. But if anything, it was probably caused by the overwhelming stress. Luckily, I didn't have to be hospitalized, but I decided to take some time off work. It wasn't just my health, but also the divorce proceedings I had to deal with. When I told my boss about it, he was so worried that he came to visit me at my parents' house. Despite all the trouble I'd caused at work, my manager never complained and was incredibly supportive. I really believe I can trust him. That's why if I remarry, it'll be him.
Don't say that. I've known you the longest, Julie. I'm the one who understands you best.
Looking back, we never really spent time together outside of the club. That's why I married you without really knowing you at all. Steve, I didn't even notice you were cheating behind my back.
How do you know he's not doing something behind your back, too?
Maybe, but I trust him more than I could ever trust you. When I said that, Steve looked deeply hurt.
I was tricked. It's not my fault.
Rachel's at fault, but you're just as guilty as her.
I genuinely loved you, but she kept feeding me lies.
You're the one who chose to believe Rachel's lies, Steve. Despite that, Steve kept showing up, trying to reconcile with me. My manager grew concerned and decided to contact the police. They acted quickly, and Steve was ordered to stay away from me. We also informed his parents, who promised to keep an eye on him. After that, Steve stopped appearing in front of me. Later, I received the remaining alimony in a lump sum. It seems Steve's parents had paid it off for him. In exchange, Steve had to work under their supervision, doing both a daytime job and a night shift, with all his earnings going to his parents. When the payment came through, his mother told me, even though he's our son, we expect him to pay it back. Rachel, meanwhile, kept showing up around Mike. Mike wasn't dating anyone officially yet, but he had started going on dates with someone. Rachel once showed up while he was out having dinner with this new woman. With her face a mess of tears and snot, Rachel threw water on Mike's date.
You home wrecker.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Understandably, Mike was furious, but Rachel's anger only grew, and she tried to grab the other woman. The restaurant was thrown into chaos. The staff called the police, and Rachel was taken away. Mike also reported her as a stalker. Rachel was so shocked by being labeled a stalker that she became a recluse. Her family took her to see a psychiatrist, and she's currently undergoing treatment. She told them,
I can't bear to see Mike with another woman.
At the psychiatric hospital, Rachel continues to cry over Mike. Apparently, she even sent him a letter asking him to visit, but Mike politely declined through a call to her parents. Rachel found out about this, and realizing Mike wasn't coming and hadn't responded to her, she spiraled even further. It seems she'll likely be admitted to the hospital for an extended stay. Her parents have expressed that they don't know how to handle her anymore. With all the chaos finally behind me, I was able to focus on my relationship with my manager. Though my trust in men hadn't fully returned, I found myself becoming a bit more possessive than usual. But my manager just smiled and accepted it kindly, always willing to talk things through until my anxieties disappeared. I'm still hesitant to think about marriage. But maybe, with him, it's a future I can believe in. Things with Mike were also going well. When I introduced him to my manager, Mike was happy for me. What surprised me was that Mike had his own company, and since my manager had dreams of one day owning his own store, the two of them hit it off immediately. They were about 5 years apart in age but got along well, especially when talking about business.
You should come by and check out my company sometime.
They even made plans for a visit. Mike whispered to me afterward.
I think he's a great guy.
I think so too. This time, I want to make decisions based on my own judgment, not influenced by anyone else.